Picture this. It's 3 a.m. The President of the United States is scrolling through social media, sees something that really bothers him, and decides that maybe, just maybe, it's time to show the world who's boss with nuclear weapons. Now, before you click away thinking this is some unhinged conspiracy theory, let me be clear. Starting a nuclear war as president would be both the most catastrophic decision in human history and surprisingly easy from a tactical standpoint, which is either reassuring or absolutely terrifying depending on how you look at it. Welcome back to the channel where we analyze the intersection of politics and what could possibly go wrong. Today, we're diving into the 10 quickest ways a president, specifically Trump, could theoretically escalate a situation to nuclear warfare. And yes, I know how this sounds. Why would you make this video? Because understanding these pathways is exactly how we prevent them. Plus, in a world where we've normalized so many previously unthinkable political scenarios, maybe it's time we had an honest conversation about the ultimate unthinkable scenario. So, buckle up. We're about to explore the most serious topic in the most surreal way possible. Let's start with the most Trump-esque scenario, escalating a Twitter beef into actual warfare. Imagine this progression. A foreign leader tweets something mildly critical about American trade policy. Trump responds with increasingly aggressive tweets. The foreign leader doubles down. Trump feels his reputation is under attack, issues what he calls a final warning on Twitter. The problem? In the nuclear age, final warnings from heads of state carry very specific weight. Other nuclear powers start interpreting these tweets as serious threats. Military advisors around the world begin preparing for the worst-case scenario. And suddenly, a social media argument has become a nuclear standoff. The terrifying part? This isn't far-fetched. We've already seen how quickly Trump's tweets move markets, destabilize alliances, and create international incidents. Nuclear escalation via social media isn't impossible. It's just the logical extreme of something we've already witnessed. Here's a scenario that keeps defense experts awake at night. A routine military exercise that gets catastrophically misinterpreted. Trump orders a large-scale military exercise near a sensitive border, let's say the Korean DMZ or the Ukrainian border. It's meant to be a show of strength, a reminder of American power, but intelligence gets crossed somewhere. The opposing nation interprets this as preparation for an invasion. They begin mobilizing their own forces, including moving nuclear assets to high alert. Trump, seeing this mobilization, assumes they're preparing to attack and orders an even larger show of force. Each side is reacting to what they think the other is planning, but nobody actually wants war. It's the classic security dilemma, except with weapons that could end civilization. And knowing Trump's tendency to double down rather than de-escalate, this spiral could happen in days rather than weeks. One of Trump's consistent foreign policy positions has been skepticism towards traditional alliances. So imagine this. Trump formally withdraws from NATO, arguing that America is paying too much for other countries' defense. European allies, suddenly vulnerable, begin developing their own nuclear capabilities at breakneck speed. Russia, sensing an opportunity, becomes more aggressive toward now unprotected NATO members. China sees the chaos and makes moves into the South China Sea. India and Pakistan, watching the global order collapse, begin their own escalation. Within months, you have multiple nuclear powers in active conflicts without the stabilizing influence of American-led alliances. It's not that Trump directly starts nuclear war. It's that his actions create a world where nuclear war becomes statistically inevitable. This one's almost mainstream foreign policy thinking, taken to its logical extreme. Trump has consistently taken a hard line on Iran's nuclear program. Now, imagine he decides that diplomatic pressure isn't enough and orders airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran, facing what they perceive as an existential threat, activates sleeper cells worldwide and begins attacking American interests globally. Trump, viewing this as terrorism, dramatically escalates military action. Iran's allies, Russia and China, begin providing military support. The key tipping point? Israel, fearing Iranian retaliation, launches its own preemptive strikes. Now you have a regional war involving multiple nuclear powers, each convinced they're fighting for their survival. And survival calculations tend to override normal strategic restraint. Everyone remembers the Trump-China trade war, but imagine it going kinetic. It starts economically. Trump imposes crushing tariffs. China retaliates. The global economy starts fragmenting. Then, cyber attacks begin, targeting each other's infrastructure, financial systems, and government networks. The escalating point? A cyber attack on American nuclear command and control systems. Whether it was actually China or just appears to be China doesn't matter. Trump orders immediate retaliation against Chinese military targets. China, assuming this is the beginning of an American first strike, begins activating its nuclear forces. The chilling reality? Modern warfare happens so fast that there's barely time for the kind of careful diplomacy that prevented nuclear war during the Cold War. When everything is connected, a trade dispute can become a nuclear crisis in hours. Here's a scenario nobody wants to think about. What if there's a constitutional crisis over presidential succession and nuclear weapons are involved? Imagine Trump refuses to accept election results and claims the incoming administration is illegitimate. Now you have competing claims to nuclear authority. Military commanders receive conflicting orders about nuclear posture. Some follow Trump, others follow the constitutionally legitimate government. Foreign adversaries, seeing American command and control in chaos, begin their own mobilizations to take advantage of the confusion. The nightmare scenario? A foreign nuclear power launches what they intend as a limited strike, assuming American retaliation capabilities are compromised by internal conflict. They're wrong. Multiple parts of the fractured American system respond simultaneously, turning a calculated strike into global catastrophe. Trump's relationship with North Korea has been complicated. From fire and fury to love letters, it's been a roller coaster. But imagine if Trump decides that Kim Jong-un's latest missile test crosses a red line and orders a preemptive strike on North Korean nuclear facilities. The problem? North Korea's nuclear doctrine is use 'em or lose them. The moment American missiles appear on their radar, they launch everything they have. Seoul gets hit first. Japan gets hit second. American bases throughout the Pacific are targeted. China, facing nuclear fallout literally blowing across their border, and millions of North Korean refugees, blames the United States for destabilizing the region. Russia, not wanting to be left out of reshaping the post-catastrophic world order, begins making its own aggressive moves. This next scenario starts with Trump making a dramatic reversal and offering Ukraine NATO membership and nuclear protection. Putin, viewing this as an existential threat to Russian security, issues an ultimatum: reverse course or face consequences. Trump characteristically refuses to back down and actually deploys American tactical nuclear weapons to Ukraine as a show of resolve. Putin, now facing American nukes on his border, begins mobilizing for what he sees as an inevitable American first strike. The catalyst? A Ukrainian attack on Russian forces using American-provided weapons. Putin claims this constitutes American direct involvement and launches a limited nuclear strike on Ukrainian military targets. Trump, viewing this as an attack on American-protected territory, authorizes retaliation. Here's where Trump's space obsession becomes dangerous. Imagine he decides to demonstrate American technological superiority by detonating a nuclear weapon in space. Not at any country, just as a show of force to the world. Except space-based nuclear detonations create electromagnetic pulses that can destroy satellites and electronics over vast areas. Multiple countries lose communications, GPS, and early warning systems simultaneously. In the confusion, someone mistakes the loss of early warning systems for the beginning of a first strike. Military commanders around the world, suddenly flying blind, begin implementing worst-case scenario protocols. When you can't see what's happening, paranoia takes over, and paranoid nuclear powers tend to shoot first and ask questions later. And here's the most Trump-specific scenario: nuclear escalation over a personal insult. A foreign leader makes a comment that Trump perceives as deeply personal, maybe about his business acumen, his family, or his appearance. Trump, feeling his reputation and dignity are under attack, decides to show that nobody disrespects the President of the United States. It starts with aggressive military posturing, then targeted strikes on symbolic targets. The foreign leader, not to be outdone, escalates back. Each escalation is designed not to win a war, but to demonstrate who's more powerful, more resolved, more willing to take risks. The tragedy? Both leaders are playing a game of nuclear chicken, each convinced the other will blink first. Neither wants to actually end the world. They just want to win the argument. But nuclear weapons don't care about your intentions when you fire them. Now, before you start building your bunker, remember these scenarios are theoretical. They require multiple systems to fail, multiple people to make catastrophically bad decisions, and multiple opportunities for de-escalation to be ignored. But here's what you should worry about. They are all technically possible. The technical capability to end human civilization rests in the hands of a very small number of people, and those people are subject to the same ego, pressure, and poor decision-making as everyone else. The scariest part about making this list wasn't coming up with the scenarios. It was realizing how plausible they all sound. We've normalized so much political chaos that nuclear chaos starts to feel like just the next step. So, what do we do with this information? We pay attention. We demand better safeguards. We elect leaders who understand that nuclear weapons aren't just another tool of statecraft. They're the ultimate responsibility. And maybe, just maybe, we take a step back from the brink of all the smaller escalations that could lead to the biggest one. What do you think? Are these scenarios too far-fetched? Or are we closer to nuclear brinksmanship than we want to admit? Let me know in the comments. And remember, the goal isn't to scare you. It's to make sure we never have to find out which scenario is most likely. Subscribe for more analysis of the political scenarios we hope never happen, but probably should understand anyway.